Imagine loving a man only to discover that nothing about his life is what you thought. She stayed with him. She endured with him and she loved him even when his world looked like a complete mess. He tested her loyalty, but what happens when the test reveals more truths than she expected? This is not a fairy tale. This is a war between love and legacy. Will Arena stay or will she walk away? You are welcome to African Tales by Kama, a place where we share real stories. The first time Arena noticed him, he was the only person in the waiting room who wasn't pressing his phone. He sat on the chair near the window at St. Jude Specialist Hospital in GRA Port Harcourt. No designer wristwatch, no loud perfume, and no chain on his neck. Just a simple shirt and black trousers that looked like they had been ironed very carefully. Irina was doing her evening rounds in the outpatient section, tired but still trying to smile. It had been a long shift. One child with asthma, two emergency cases from a fuel tanker accident, and a woman crying quietly because her husband refused to donate blood. She was used to noise and chaos in the waiting room. Ringing phones, impatient relatives, someone always shouting, "Nurse! Nurse!" But this man, he was calm. Almost too calm. "Good evening, sir," Rena greeted, stopping beside him. "Who are you here to see, please?" He looked up at her, and for a moment she almost forgot her next sentence. His eyes were soft, not the kind of softness that begged for pity, but the kind that made you feel like he was really looking at you, not through you. "Good evening, nurse," he replied with a small smile. His voice was deep but gentle. "I am here to see Mrs. Eze. She's in Ward C. Her daughter called me. I just wanted to know if she's okay." "Oh, are you related?" Arena asked, checking the small clipboard in her hand. "Not by blood," he replied. "She used to sell food near my father's old site. She gave me food on credit many times when I was in secondary school, so she's family." Something in the way he said family made Arena burst. Most people came here tensed, angry, impatient, and demanding. He just sat quietly, concerned about an old woman who wasn't even his relative. "She's stable now," Arena said. "We are still running some tests, but the doctor said she's responding." He let out a long breath with relief flooding his face. "Thank God," he murmured. "Thank you. Thank you so much, nurse." "Irina," she supplied with a small smile. He repeated it almost as if testing the name on his tongue. "Irina, I am Kene." "All right, Mr. Kene. You can see her for a few minutes, but please don't stress her because she needs all the rest she can get." "I won't," he promised. "Thank you." He stood up, tall but not intimidating, and followed her quietly down the corridor. Kenneth started coming often after that. Sometimes he came with fruits from Mama Izzy. Other times he brought her favorite bread from the junction. He always greeted the nurses politely, never raising his voice, never acting like he was more important than anybody else. "Your friend is here again," one of the nurses teased Arena one afternoon as they stood at the nurses' station. Arena rolled her eyes. "My friend? But how? He's just a visitor." "Visitor that used to wait for you to close shift, Abby," the nurse whispered. "If you like, keep deceiving yourself." Arena ignored her, but the heat in her cheeks betrayed her. It wasn't only that he came often, it was how he behaved when he came. He noticed when Arena looked tired and would quietly say, "Have you eaten today?" He noticed when her shoes looked worn out and joked, "These shoes have seen things so they can write autobiography even." He noticed when her phone battery died, and one day without saying anything, he started carrying a power bank just in case she needed to charge. He never bragged, he never shouted, and he never acted like he was doing her a favor. He simply cared. One raining evening, Arena's shift ended late. The rain had been heavy, the kind that made Port Harcourt gutters overflow and Okadas disappear from the road. She stepped out of the hospital gate, hugging herself against the cold breeze, wondering how she would get home. Her salary wasn't much, and she had already spent a good part of it on her younger brother's school fees and her mother's drugs. Just then, she heard someone call, Irina. She turned. Kenneth stood by the gate holding an umbrella. His shirt was slightly wet at the shoulders, as if he had been there for a while. You are still here? She asked, surprised. Visiting hours ended long ago. He shrugged. I know. I left. Then I saw the rain. I figured you would close late. I didn't want to stand here looking for a taxi in this rain. Irina blinked. You waited for me? I had nothing urgent to do, he said casually. Let me drop you. She looked at the road. It was a mess. Water everywhere and no bus was in sight. Don't worry, she said automatically. I will manage. I don't want to stress you. He chuckled. And who said you were stressing me? It was then she noticed the car. She had never paid attention to what he drove before. Today, she only saw a simple Toyota Corolla parked quietly by the side of the road. Not brand new and not too old, just neat. She thought, at least he has a car. He's doing okay. Not rich, but certainly comfortable. She nodded. Okay, thank you. Inside the car, the air smelled faintly of lemon and something like vanilla. There was a small Bible in the front compartment, a half-empty sachet of granules in the cup holder, and a worn-out key holder that had KO Projects written on it. What's KO? She asked as he drove through the flooded road. He smiled slightly. My name, Kene Okechukwu, and small work that I do on the side. Construction, she guessed. Something like that, he replied. Admin support. I handle some documents, help inspect sites, that kind of a thing. She nodded, impressed that he at least worked. In her mind, he was probably one of those young men still struggling to gather themselves, trying to build something from nothing, and she could respect that because she came from that world. Her father had died when she was 13. Her mother sold second-hand clothes in my three markets. Irina had worked small jobs, home lessons, ushering, even selling recharge cards, just to pay her way through nursing school. A comfortable life was not her story. Maybe that was why Kenny's simplicity didn't bother her. He didn't flash money. He didn't name drop beef friends, and he talked about values, not vibes. Week turned into months. Even after Mama Izzy was discharged, Kenny kept in touch. He would call to check on Arena. Have you eaten? Became his trademark question. When she was angry about a rude patient, he listened. When she was happy about a successful surgery, he celebrated with her. When she was quiet, he didn't force jokes. He just stayed on the phone. One Saturday afternoon, he asked, Can I see you outside the hospital for once? Not when you were in uniform and shouting, Doctor, sign this drug chart. She laughed. I don't shout like that though. You do, he insisted playfully. So can I see you outside today? Irina hesitated. She had had enough bad experiences with men to last a lifetime. One had disappeared after collecting a small loan from her. Another had insulted her salary, saying he couldn't be with a woman that worked petty hospital job. But Kenneth felt different. He didn't rush and he didn't pressure. He just asked. Okay, she finally agreed. One lunch, nothing serious. Nothing serious, he echoed. I promise. Lunch turned into more outings. Then went to a small clean restaurant where he allowed her order first. She noticed he never wasted food. If he couldn't finish, he asked for a takeaway. They went to the mall once. He didn't drag her into luxury shops. He just followed her to buy toiletries. You were not buying anything, she asked. I don't like buying what I don't need, he said simply. Right now, I am focused on some other things. She liked that, not because she didn't like enjoyment. Of course she did, but there was something about a man who had discipline with money. It gave her a strange kind of peace. On one of their walks, as they ate roasted plantain, what is usually called bole and fish, he said to her, You know, Arena, you are different. She laughed. All men say that. I don't see what I don't mean, he replied. You are not flashy and you are not chasing what is trending. It's like you know who you are. Her laughter died down. Nobody had ever described her like that. In this life, I just don't want stress, she said. I want peace. I want a man whose head is correct. Money is good, but peace is better. He looked at her carefully as if he was storing her words somewhere inside. What if you find a man who has both? He asked. She shrugged. I have not seen him yet. Kenneth looked away, a strange, almost sad smile on his lips. Maybe one day you will. It wasn't that Arena never wondered about his background. Sometimes he disappeared for 1 or 2 days and later said, I had to travel for work. Sometimes he received calls and stepped aside, speaking in low tones, using words like bored, deadline, and meeting. But he never boasted. He never told her exactly how big his work was, and she never pushed. In her mind, he was a hardworking and careful young man, probably supporting families somewhere. She knew what it meant to carry other people's problems quietly. The day everything started to change, however, was quite ordinary. They were sitting in his car after he dropped her at her junction. Irina, he called out. She replied without looking up because she was busy stuffing her nursing bag and trying to close a stubborn zip. There is somewhere I want to take you, he said. Not today, maybe next weekend. She looked up. His face was serious. Where? She asked, curious. He hesitated, then smiled faintly. My house. Your house? Irina asked repeatedly. Yes, where I stay. He paused, searching her eyes. It's not what you might be expecting, but I want you to see it. I want you to see my life just the way it is. Irina studied him. Why do you sound nervous? Kene, I don't care if your house is one room, she said honestly. As long as your mind is not one room, we are fine. He burst out laughing, but there was still something hidden in his eyes, something she couldn't read yet. Next weekend then, he said, but promise me one thing. What? When we get there and I say close your eyes, you will. Irina smiled, not knowing that that simple promise would change everything. I promise, she replied. The following Saturday arrived with a kind of stubborn Port Harcourt heat that forces you to question every life choice, including the simple act of stepping outside. Irina dressed lightly, with her hair packed into a neat bun. She didn't know where Kenny was taking her, but she wanted to look presentable without looking like she was trying too hard. At exactly 2 p.m., he arrived. She heard his horn from outside the gates, just 2 short peeps, the way he always did it. Irina stepped out of her compound. When she approached the car, she noticed he looked uneasy. His shirt was clean and fit, yet he kept on adjusting the collar as if it was choking him. His fingers tapped the steering wheel. His eyes were lifted to meet hers, and she could tell Kene was nervous. Good afternoon, she greeted, sliding into the passenger seat. Afternoon, Irina, he replied, but his voice wasn't the usual warm tone. It was trained and controlled. Are you okay? She asked, fastening her seatbelt. He nodded too quickly. Yes, I am fine, but he wasn't fine because his right hand resting on the gear trembled. Irina stared at him a moment longer but let it go when he changed the subject. Hope you are ready, he asked, forcing a smile. Today will be different. I am ready, she said, laughing lightly. But you are acting like you want to propose. Kenneth choked on his saliva, coughing. She burst into laughter. Kenneth, relax, I am joking. He laughed as well, though a bit awkwardly. You like to stress somebody, just relax. You will see everything in good time. They drove through GRA, then made a turn towards Rumokoro. Irina raised her brows slightly. She hadn't expected this direction. Are you sure we are going the right way? She teased. Absolutely. He didn't look at her when he answered. Traffic grew tighter as they entered Rumokoro roundabouts, full of impatient keke horns, bus conductors shouting destinations, and traders chasing after taxis with sachet water and plantain chips. From there, they continued into Rumukwata. Arena's curiosity began to grow. This area was more crowded, more chaotic, and more unpolished. Kene, you didn't tell me your house is this far, she said. I didn't tell you much at all, he replied. I wanted you to come with an open mind. They drove deeper until the third road became a rough sandy stretch. Then they entered the small narrow streets where children ran half naked and women sat outside braiding hair. Small kiosks lined the road and the sound of Afrobeats spewed from cracked speakers. Kenneth parked beside the rusted metal gates. This is it, he said. Arena stared at the gates, then at him. Then she stared at the gates again. He turned off the engine, exhaled deeply and turned to her. Before we go inside, he said, reaching into the glove compartment. Wear this. He pulled out a blindfold. Arena blinked. Kenny, are you kidnapping me? No, he burst out. It's part of the surprise. She folded her arms. Are you sure your head is correct? He scratched his eyebrow nervously. Very correct. Please trust me. Before she could respond, he stepped out, walked over to her side, opened the door, and held out the blindfold like an offering. Arena hesitated, not because she didn't trust him, but because this was unusual, dramatic, and even suspicious. But then again, Kenneth didn't behave like a man who had anything to hide. If anything, he was a man who hid too much good. She took the blindfold. All right, she said, tying the cloths behind her head. If I fall inside one gutter, I will fight you. I won't let that happen, he said, offering his hand. She placed her palm in it, warm, steady, and reassuring. He guided her. Raise your leg, he whispered, helping her step over a broken block. Is that a gutter? She asked quickly. No, ma, he said, laughing. Just a brick. He continued to lead her carefully. Turn left. Slow. Yes. Now lift your foot a little. Perfect. Don't open your eyes. I am not, she murmured, though the smell of damp earth and firewood smoke made her imagine all kinds of creatures waiting to crawl on her legs. Almost there, he said. She could hear the crunch of sand beneath her shoes and the rustling of nylon bags, and the smell was all suggesting that it was indeed an unpolished environment. Okay, he said finally. We are here. Stand still. Arena held her breath. 3, 2, 1. Open your eyes. She removed the blindfold, then blinked, and then blinked again. What she saw wasn't what she expected. The compound was tiny, bare and dusty. One zinc-roofed room stood at the corner, patched with leftover plywood and black nylon sheets. The door was wooden but chipped. 2 plastic chairs were stacked in one corner. A bucket of water sat near the entrance and a ragged mattress leaned against the wall. This, he said, spreading his hands shyly, is my home. Arena froze. Kenny, what do you mean your home? He swallowed hard. This is where I've been staying. It's not the best, but I've managed. Someone allowed me to stay here until I can afford better. And the car doesn't even belong to me. I am using it to hustle and then pay on installments. For a moment, Aruna couldn't speak. Not because of the room, but because of the look on his face. Half shame and half fear. He continued before she could respond. I didn't want to tell you before because I didn't want pity. I wanted you to see me first before seeing my struggle. But I can't hide from you again. This is my reality. Arena slowly walked forward, peeping inside the room. 1 torn mattress, 1 kerosene stove, 2 plastic plates, a nylon bag tied tightly at the corner, probably holding everything he owned, a small hand fan, bread wrapped in old newspaper, and a bottle of Pepsi. Her chest tightened. Kenny, you have been living like this? She whispered. Yes, he replied, and I am sorry I didn't tell you earlier. She turned to him sharply. Sorry? Kenny, this place, this life, how have you been coping? He shrugged weakly. I am strong. I believe my future will be better, but for now, this is all I've got. The silence stretched. Irina exhaled slowly and stepped fully into the room. The floor was uneven. The air was hot, but she couldn't back away. Instead, she turned to face him. Why didn't you tell me? He rubbed his neck. Because I didn't want to lose you. Irina froze again. Lose me? Kenny, you think something like this will make me leave? He blinked rapidly, surprised. No woman has ever stayed, he murmured. Not one. The moment they see I'm struggling, they run. Some even insult me. Others block my number. I am tired. I am tired of giving my heart to people who only want comfort. He looked down at the dusty floor. This is the fourth time I've tried letting someone into my life, he continued. I was scared, Irina. I was scared you will leave. His vulnerability hit her like a punch to the chest. She stepped closer, lifting his chin so he could look at her. Kenny, I didn't fall for your house. I fell for your heart. And last I checked, this room is not your heart. His lips parted in disbelief. And besides, she added with a small smile, if this is where you are, then this is where we will start. I am not leaving you because of one zinc roof. I bear shifts. His breath caught. You mean you are staying? He whispered. Irina smiled fully this time. I am not going anywhere. Kenneth stared at her like she had just rewritten the laws of gravity. Then, overwhelmed, he whispered, Thank you, Irina. But she had no idea this was only the beginning because the biggest surprise, the real truth and the hidden identity was still waiting for her. They talked and talked and they didn't know when it became late. She had no option than to sleep over. She woke up early the next morning long before the roosters in the next compound began its cracked and confused crowing. She lay on the old mattress in Kenneth's room, blinking slowly as her mind adjusted to her surroundings. Even with her eyes half open, she could see cobwebs everywhere. The zinc roof above her was rusted in patches, and beams of light pierced through some tiny holes like sharp needles. She turned to her side. Kenneth was sitting on an overturned bucket, watching her with a look she couldn't quite explain, like he was afraid she would disappear if he blinked too hard. Good morning, she greeted, rubbing her eyes. He smiled. Morning, Irina. The room was quiet, almost strangely so, and that silence made her ask the first question of the day. How long have you been up? A while, he replied, trying to sound casual. I didn't want to wake you. You looked peaceful. She chuckled. Peaceful? I probably snored. You did, he said, nodding with a straight face. Irina looked at the mattress again. The foam slanted downward at one end like a bad slide at a village playground. It was old, lumpy, and looked like it had seen generations of suffering and frustration. But last night, after the long talk, exhaustion had pushed her into a deep sleep. Now, fully awake, she felt the stiffness in her back, but she said nothing because she didn't want him to feel bad. Let me warm water for your bath, Kenneth said, reaching for the small kerosene stove. Irina shook her head immediately. No, don't bother. Let me learn this your lifestyle properly. He laughed. Are you sure? Because you were struggling to remove mosquito-coiled smoke from your eyes yesterday, oh, he teased. She rolled her eyes. Don't worry, I am fine. He stepped aside. Go ahead then, Madam Trenches. Irina marched to the back of the compound determined. The distance of the bathroom from the house was another journey on its own. It consisted of a small shed made from old zinc sheets, not cemented, with a big stone placed at the center. And if you are not strategic with your standing posture, half of your body will be outside. She betted quickly and rushed in. You see why I like you, he said. You have adapted already. Arena felt her cheeks warm. Don't start. He smiled, stepping closer. You know I mean it. She pushed him lightly. Go and bathe, Joe. I am hungry. While he bathed, Arena surveyed the room properly for the first time. The nylon bag in the corner held only 4 shirts and 2 pairs of trousers. His shoes were old but polished. His plates were only 2. One ceramic and one aluminium. She pressed her lips together, her chest tightening again. This man has been surviving on faith and discipline. No wonder he spoke about better days the way someone speaks of heaven, something they believed in completely even when they couldn't touch it. When he returned, freshly braided and smelling faintly of local soap, he handed her bread and granules. Breakfast, he announced. Irina eyed it. Is there no tea? There is hot water, he said. If you mix hot water with confidence, it is tea. She burst into loud laughter. You are not okay, oh. They sat outside on an overturned bench and ate together. Kene, she said between bites. This place, how long have you been here? A little over a year, he replied. He didn't meet her eyes. What happened? He hesitated. Well, just life. Business went bad. Family issues, and I had to start all over again. Irina nodded slowly. Why not stay with your relatives? Well, I prefer peace, he said simply, no pressure. She understood that very well. Just as she was about to ask another question, a woman carrying firewood stopped in front of them, eyeing Irina from head to toe. Fine, madam, the woman said loudly. Welcome, oh. Irina laughed awkwardly. Thank you, ma. The woman turned to Kene and hissed loudly. Poor man, if na your sister, you go gree make she go suffer with man like this? Before Irina could speak, Kene whispered. Don't mind her. She behaves like this every morning. Irina smiled politely at the woman, refusing to be offended. The woman snorted and walked away muttering. Na so that they deceive rich people picking. Irina paused. Rich people what? She blinked. Did she just say, forget her, Kene interrupted quickly. She talks nonsense. Irina narrowed her eyes. Something about the woman's tone had been too sharp and too knowing, but she pushed it aside. Kene, you said we are going somewhere today, right? She asked instead. Yes. His expression became serious. I want to show you something else, another part of my life. But it is different from here. Different how? You will see. He stood and offered her his hand. Let's go, Irina. She took his hand, not knowing that the next place he would take her would shake her more than this room ever did. They left the compound around 11 a.m. after Kene packed a few things into a small faded bag. Irina noticed something curious. He double-folded his only 2 trousers, wrapped them neatly, and handled them like they were glass. A man who respected small things, she thought, would never misuse big ones. When they stepped out of the compound, the sun attacked immediately. I mean proper Port Harcourt heat, the type that makes the ground shine like a frying pan and forces people to walk with handkerchiefs on their heads. Irina shaded her eyes. If you make me walk far in this heat, I will faint, oh. Kenen laughed. Please, my dear, you have to manage. There is no fear in the car. They walked past children playing tente. A few neighbors waved at them. Some looked confused and some stared too long. Irina kept her chin up because she had nothing to be ashamed of. After about 8 minutes, they reached a lone keke waiting at the junction. Where are we going? Irina asked, entering the tricycle. You will see, he replied. The keke moved through different neighborhoods, bouncing over potholes that seemed specifically engineered to test human patience. Irina's head hit the keke frame twice. Kenny apologized both times, as if he caused the potholes personally. They passed Rumukwata, then Rumiola, then entered a quieter part of town where palms lined the road and tall fences guided large compounds. Irina frowned. Kenny, this area is not the trenches, so. I told you it's different, he replied. She swallowed her next question. After 15 minutes, the keke finally stopped in front of a tall black gate, polished, towering, and nothing like the place they had left. Irina stared. Kene, are we lost? He paid the keke, took her hand again, and walked her towards the gates. Before we enter, he said slowly, "You know I like surprises, right?" She immediately frowned. Kene, don't do. But he interrupted her by removing a blindfold from his pocket. Arena, please. One more time. No, she replied, stepping back. Kenny, we are not doing this nonsense again. He looked into her eyes. Please, this will make sense, I promise. Her lips parted to argue, but something in his face silenced her. She exhaled sharply. Fine. He grinned and tied the blindfold gently around her head. He knocked twice. The gateman opened the gates. Irina heard gravel crunching beneath their feet. The air changed immediately. Cooler, quieter, and cleaner. Kenny, where are we? She whispered. Relax, he said gently. Just keep walking. He guided her down what felt like a long, smooth walkway. The ground under their shoes was too perfect. No bumps, no sand, and no heat. Something smelled like fresh flowers. Expensive ones, of course. Kenny, are we trespassing? No, he replied. Are you about to sell me? She asked again. He laughed loudly this time. Arena, Ejo, behave. They walked a little further, then stopped. He positioned her carefully. Okay, he whispered beside her ear. On 3, her heartbeat quickened. 1, she held her breath. 2, her fingers curled. And 3, open. Irina lifted the blindfold. Her breath left her body. She stood in front of a massive glass front mansion, 3 floors high, white walls shining under the sun with carved pillars, manicured lawns, a large fountain shaped like a spiral shell, and cars. I mean, expensive cars. She stumbled backward. Kenny, she gasped. What is this? Kenny didn't speak immediately. He watched her reaction carefully, almost painfully. She turned in circles, trying to process, trying to breathe, and trying to understand. This can't be your house, she whispered. Kenny stepped closer. Arena, this is my real home. The word burst. Every sound faded. Every thought froze, and her heartbeat was the only thing she could feel. He continued with his voice low but steady. The room I showed you yesterday wasn't my house. It was a test I've done before that failed every time. Irina stared at him, shock wide in her eyes. Why? She finally asked. He swallowed hard, his jaw tightening. Because I always met women who loved the money, not the man. Women who wanted the name, the cars, the luxury, but never the person inside. I was tired of being chosen because of wealth, so I learned to hide it. He breathed out shakingly. I needed to know who you really were. Irina didn't move. Her mind replayed everything. The zinc room, the well water, the torn mattress, the bread and granules breakfast, the mocking neighbors, and she felt dizzy. Kenny, you lied to me. I hid the truth, he corrected gently, because I wanted the real you, and yesterday I saw her. Irina stepped back again, confusion twisting in her chest. So, you made me sleep in that kind of place just to test me? His face softened with regret. I know it sounds terrible, but I needed to be sure. Then Irina laughed disbelievingly, shaking her head. Kenny, so all this time you were acting and pretending to be poor? Not acting, he said quietly. I just didn't show my wealth. And the old room, the well, the trenches people. They don't know me per se, he replied. They just think I'm another struggling young man who rented the space. Arena hugged her arms around herself. She felt cold despite the sun. Who are you really, Kene? She asked, barely above a whisper. He took a deep breath. My name is Kenechukwu Odiaka, CEO of Odiaka Construction Group, the company my father left behind, the one people talked about on the news. Irina felt the ground shift beneath her. The Odiaka company that I and everyone else knows? Yes, Kene, she whispered. Why me? Why did you choose me to test? He looked at her with his eyes full of sincerity. Because from the very first day I met you, I knew there was something different about you. Something good, but I needed to be certain. Irina's lips trembled, both hurt and overwhelmed. You should have trusted me, she murmured. His eyes softened. I trust you now. She looked away, breathing hard. Kenny, I don't even know what to feel. Feel whatever you need to, he said gently. You are allowed. He stepped closer, slow and careful as though any sudden movement might shatter what little trust she had for him left. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. Arena, will you walk inside with me? She didn't move, not forward and not backward. Her heart beat against her ribs like it was trying to escape. Inside her mansion was the truth she never asked for. Outside, in the heat of the compound, was the simple honesty she thought she understood. And now she was caught between two worlds, the man she thought he was, and the man he truly is. Irina inhaled shakily, her fingers trembled. Kenneth waited with his eyes pleading and his breath unsteady. And in that moment, the entire world seemed to freeze. She parted her lips to speak. Kenneth, but the words refused to come. Instead, she slowly turned her face away, crying, leaving both of them suspended between truth, fear, and a choice that could change everything. So, dear Karma tribe, what do you think Arena will do next? Will she walk into the mansion and into his reward? Or will she walk away and protect her heart because he went too extreme with his test? Tell me in the comment section as I would like to read with you. And get ready because the next part will expose secrets even Kene didn't plan to reveal. Please share the story to your lovers. Give it a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Punch on that subscribe button so that you can join the Karma tribe. Until I bring the next episode of the story your way, it is a goodbye from here and God bless you.